So we know that our goal is to have data that is of the highest quality, but there are problems with data that sometimes prevents the data from being of that high quality. So common problems with data, it certainly exist, and there are sometimes major problems that exist across many different organizations. And many times those problems, those major problems, are unrecognized or misunderstood. There are several causes of bad data or data problems. First, duplicated data can lead to inconsistencies. If you have, for example, an address that's duplicated from two separate data sources and somebody moves, only one data source is updated. So therefore now you have an inconsistency between data source 1 and data source 2. While they should be in sync, they're no longer in sync. Those inconsistencies then lead to misinterpretation and misunderstanding. So you begin by doing some analytics based on where people live, and if you have a lot of inconsistencies, those can creep into those decisions where perhaps your sales based on address were skewed in more heavily in one way or another, and that could be inaccurate just because you have duplicated data. The ultimate cause is the lack of a comprehensive data management plan. So having a plan is of the highest importance when you're looking at ensuring that these common problems are not detrimental to your business. So inconsistency, as we said, the duplicated data often leads to inconsistencies because you have to keep that data up to date in more than one place. So that data quality is very important, ensuring that the up-to-date quality is met. So imagine a database like Epic for medical records and patients' test results in an Excel spreadsheet on a physician's laptop. What could go wrong? Well, certainly a lot could go wrong, where Epic would be the primary storage for any medical records. However, if a physician or a physical therapist or something like that had patient information in an Excel spreadsheet on a laptop or on a computer that was not connected to the main data store, that could lead to problems because the official medical record could end up with missing data or inconsistent data. So keeping data in one place is always the best way to combat those inconsistencies. Another thing that we have a problem with sometimes is sharing information. Why is it important to share it? Well, it's important to share it because without data sharing in a lot of cases or information sharing, business can't operate appropriately or correctly. So a central reference data source is used by several independent units. That's the best way to do things. Public domain data types are used and exchanged. Operational results need to be collated across several profit centers. Output from one system is the input to another system. These are all reasons that we have to share information. Application systems performing a similar function for distinct units are required to harmonize their data to permit close collaboration. So there are certain things that just businesses need to do in order to operate correctly. So whether that is just providing information that leads to another set of information. So sometimes it's a chaining effect. Sometimes it's required to get additional information from one data source to another data source. But bottom line, the sharing itself is easy to do in a lot of cases. But the meaning that is provided with that data is what is difficult to share. And that's very, very important to understand with data analytics. The meaning is what we're trying to gather anyway using data analytics. So it's very important to remember that when we are sharing data from one particular source to another source that may or may not fully understand why it's being shared or what it's talking about when you're sharing it. So that does lead to misinformation and misinterpretation of the data. So problems arise when you transfer data and the recipient cannot understand its meaning or their interpretation of it differs from the original system's intent. So this could lead to bad or misinterpreted results, and those misinterpreted results could then move back to the original system, especially if it's a two-way data sharing setup. And we certainly don't want that to happen because the misinterpretation of the results coming back into the original system would lead to bad data and bad decision making in the future. So having multiple information systems is something that happens a lot. We have independently designed and developed systems, and that can cause many of the problems of inconsistency and misinformation that we just talked about. So a goal then should be taking a more holistic approach to data management so that we have a consistent set of data from a centralized system that minimizes the misinformation that is provided to others through some system like sharing. So sharing of information is important, but again, if you can't share the meaning of that information or you get inconsistencies with the data, then there certainly is a problem